All right. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I have a very special guest today. Well, meet Bob Zuhlke. He's one of my favorite channels. It's called Sportsman Z. When you want to talk baseball, he talks baseball. You want to talk football, he talks football, NFL and USFL. He's a White Sox guy, so we're going to bring a different perspective. And the great thing right now is the Yankees are playing the White Sox. We are in the middle, both of us, knee deep in mud here in the battle back and forth. So, Bob, welcome to the channel. It's good to see you. And before I say anything, I want to thank you. Bob was one of the first people that ever had me onto his channel. And it was nice enough when I was first an up and comer. It was nice enough to have me on his channel. So I wanted to have him back here as well. And Bob, welcome. Thanks for coming on, bud.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, Jason, and willing to talk some baseball with you.
Yes, sir. Before we start, I have a little fact for you. So my best friend, Mike, of 25 years, his wife, Eva, and her family are from Oak Park, Illinois. They are gigantic White Sox fans. So they are going to enjoy this video that we're doing together. So, and I can't wait to share it with them. So with that, I mean, give me your insight on the White Sox offseason. What are your thoughts? Are you happy with the moves that they did or did not do and whatnot? Give me your insight.
You know, I think a lot of White Sox fans were upset that they didn't do more, but I was satisfied with what they did. I mean, when the White Sox, when their roster's healthy, they are a very good team, and they went out and they added to the bullpen, which I thought was a good move on their part. They went out and they got Velazquez, which turned out to be a great acquisition by them because we have, you know, we got injuries in the starting rotation, so he's come in big. And then they also, you know, got Pollock for the outfield. Now, they went out and they got Hazley, too, from the Phillies. I didn't understand that move, but they didn't give up much to get Hazley, so I guess I'm fine with that. But, yeah, I thought they did a good job in the offseason because they really they were good. They were solid at a lot of positions. There wasn't much that they needed, although they have gotten off to a disappointing start, but that's partially due to injuries, so.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Joe Kelly move too. It's really solidified that bullpen. And the Pollock move to me was addition by subtraction because Craig Kimbrell just didn't pan out, right? Unfortunately. Right. So they got some value back for him and they replaced him with Joe Kelly, who's playoff tested. He's got big game experience and he's a good reliever. I mean, he really, really is. So that bullpen is very good. And like you said, too, they've taken some injuries with Giolito. I think he's on COVID protocol right now, and some of these other guys. And even losing Carlos Rodon, their pitching rotation, when it's healthy, they're top-notch. They really are top-notch. Yeah. And again, this is not a team to overlook. And again, even some of the best teams go through these stretches, right, where guys get hurt. I mean, it's happened to the Yankees the past 25 years, right? Guys get hurt. Guys get sick. They had like 9 guys in the COVID IL last year. So things just happen. So when the White Sox get back to full strength, I'm pretty confident that they're going to be right at the top again. So and it's fun watching our teams, the Yankees and the White Sox, kind of go at it. Even though it's a little bit lopsided right now, but again, the White Sox aren't at full strength. So and I expect them to be at full strength, and I expect them to probably reverse the tables on the Yankees at some point this season as well. Yeah. So. They're a fun team to watch. They really, really are a fun team. So I'm not overlooking Chicago White Sox at all at any point in time because like that lineup too. When you start, Tim Anderson first of all is one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball. Yeah. I like him. He's a Yankee killer. He's that Field of Dreams game last year, man. He murdered us. He murdered us in that game. So I'll never forgive him for that. But you have him. You've got Luis Robert. You've got Abreu, you've got Grandal, you've got, Moncada. That lineup 1 through 5, 1 through 6 is deadly. It's really hard to get through.
It is. When it's healthy, it's a very good lineup.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm missing anybody at the back on the back part of the lineup that might be hurt right now, but we're at the top. Even what's the other guy's name that was there? Hit the home run last night. The lefty hit the home run off Cole. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Sheets.
Yeah, Sheets. Another one.
Yeah.
Just. The value from, the production from 1 to 9 is already stellar. When they're full strength, they're a really hard team to beat, and they show it on the pitching side and the offensive side. So
Right.
And I mean, I'm of the same opinion. You know, I got a lot of hell, but the Yankees got a lot of hell because there were a lot of fans that were just not happy with their offseason too. That they didn't sign this one and that one and this one and that one, and I get it. And then we learned later that, you know, Cashman kind of had a mandate to not spend until the CBA was agreed upon, so he kind of had some parameters. And even then, he didn't really spend much either. He did more trades, and that tends to be his bread and butter. But they brought in guys. You know, brought back Anthony Rizzo, went back Team LaCastro. They signed a couple other guys like Shelby Miller, Danny Salazar yesterday from the Cleveland Guardians. I was surprised at that one. They brought him in on a minor league deal. He has been around for a couple of years. Signing Jose Trevino, and who's an elite backstop. And then the trade that they made with Minnesota with Josh Donaldson and Ben Wartfit, goodness, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
Right.
So, and that to me still, you know, solidified a lot of parts of the team. And these are not sexy moves, but the Yankees went from 29th last year in defensive run save. They're in the top 5 now. So that they are a much better defensive team. They were terrible last year, right?
Yeah, and you know, and that helped their pitching staff, which I think coming into the year, a lot of Yankees fans were disappointed with what they thought they were going to get from the Yankees pitching staff. But I mean, so far it's been good. And
having 2 elite defensive backstops behind the plate really, really helps the confidence of the pitching staff, right? The rotation, the bullpen, and, you know, again, they've gotten a lot better at run prevention, as well as run manufacturing. The bats can only, you know, produce the runs. The defense has to prevent them. So, and they've gotten a heck of a lot better in that area too. So while it wasn't a sexy offseason, I'm also satisfied with the Yankees, with what they've done. And again, their results are showing. And I hope that they can. The key with the Yankees is staying healthy. I mean, they get decimated with injuries, and generally when it rains, it pours. So they usually don't have one guy go down; they'll have 4 guys go down or something like that. And it's tough. It gets tough. So health, in my opinion, is the key for the Yankees.
Right.
So, and I think to a degree also with the White Sox as well.
Yeah, definitely.
High-powered teams, they just have to stay healthy. And having enough depth helps keep the starters healthy, right? Having some long reliever guys helps keep the starters healthy, because we also have an issue, at least with the Yankees, with guys like Nestor Cortez. He's never pitched more than 100 innings in a season.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't expect him to throw 175 this year. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Like Luis Severino, he's coming off 3 years of being out, Tommy John and Larynga. So I can't expect him to throw 175 either. So guys like Michael King and Clark Schmidt and some of these guys in the system that hopefully they call up are going to be valuable weapons, and hopefully they'll acquire a starter at the deadline. I think the White Sox are probably in the running to get a starter as well. Just for
they may need one.
So I think that's the key. I mean, the health for both teams. The key is the health. You got to staying healthy, especially the big boys. And I mean, the White Sox got a brave. They have some big boys, and then you got Gallo, you got Stanton. These guys are gigantic. So, and it's important to give these guys regular rest days to keep healthy.
Right.
At least that's my take. I think I kind of wanted to transition over. Like, if what moves do you think, if any, would put the White Sox over the top? If you were the GM and you could make maybe 2 moves or whatever, 1 or 2 or 3 moves, what do you think?
You know, I think they, like you mentioned, I think they could use another starting pitcher. I mean, but every team will say that.
Yeah.
You can never have enough starting pitching. And maybe a better second baseman than Josh. What was
Harrison?
Yeah. So Josh Harrison. I mean, he's good, but he's better as a utility guy.
I would agree.
And you know, and then Luis Garcia, and he's really a utility guy too. So if they could get a real bona fide second baseman, I think that would help the team considerably too.
Anybody in mind that you would target?
No, not off the top of my head. I don't know. I haven't really had a chance to, or I haven't really thought about who it would be, you know, who might be available and who they should go after. But I think second base is an area that they might need to shore up.
Yeah, I mean, I could see somebody like, I mean, if they have So I have heard them. I have heard their interest in Frankie Montez from the Oakland A's. There's a lot of teams that are interested in him, and obviously it's going to cost quite a bit because of his pedigree, and he's got a year and a half of control left. So
Yeah.
that's obviously going to cost them a lot. So I could see the White Sox going after them as well as the Yankees. I could see a guy like Gavin Lux from the Dodgers because he's got multiple positional versatility, but he also has 5 years of control left. He's not
Right.
free until 2027. So obviously he's going to cost a pretty penny in terms of players / prospects or whatnot. But I could see him being a target for the White Sox.
Yeah, the one thing that differentiates the White Sox from the Yankees is the White Sox do not like to spend money. They will do it on occasion, on a rare occasion, but they don't do it a lot, and they don't like to do it. So,
Yeah. Why? Yeah. I mean, this Steinbrenner now, Hal definitely doesn't like to spend like his dad. So
right.
like George, he tends to run it like a venture capital or a bank or something. So they're cutting corners here. You know, they've got new deals with Amazon Prime where you have to have multiple memberships to watch all the Yankee games now, which is frustrating as a fan, right?
Yes.
And their tickets are very, very expensive. So that frustration builds over a lot in the Yankee fan world because back in the day, George Steinbrenner would have just gone out and done whatever he needed to do, not thinking about the repercussions later on, which is one of the things that made him be loved, but also things that drove him nuts or drove some of the analytics people nuts because they never had a farm, and now that they've got a farm, they're trying to infuse some of these young kids like the White Sox did with Moncada, like developing him after the trade, or Luis Robert, like some of these young kids. And now the Yankees are have the opportunity to kind of maybe plug some of these guys at the major league level, and which would maybe prevent them from having to spend $100 million on somebody, which is not a bad thing.
And so now you've got the crosstown rival Mets, who do spend money and will go out, and they don't care what kind of money they throw away when they, and that's evidence in the fact that they just cut Cano.
Yeah, they eat $50 million like that. I mean, that's what happens when you have an owner. I mean, I'll give him this. Obviously, he's super wealthy, Steve Cohen, but he's at the very least he's showing he's serious about being a top team in New York and competing. So I mean, I could see them being one of the favorite teams in the playoffs in the National League if they keep healthy too. They've got the guys, Max Scherzer. They brought in the right guys to make the team really competitive, right?
Yeah, and DeGrom hasn't even come back yet.
Nope. And if he comes back and he's healthy, it's just that much more dangerous.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sleeping on the Mets either, but yeah, you're right. The spending is kind of, it's a thing with the Yankees now, which is why I'm curious because if I were to make a couple of moves, I would go after a starting pitcher as well at the deadline. And I would also try my darndest to get somebody like Brian Reynolds from the Pirates to stabilize center field and whatnot. There's no guarantee Gallo's going to come back. We don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Hicks, to be honest with you. And they've got Tim LeCastro and Ciarte and like Estevan Florial, but there's no solid guy like in center field and leadoff, and he could do both. Brian Reynolds, he could be our leadoff hitter and our center field. Now it would cost a lot. And I've already proposed moving Jason Dominguez and some other people because to me, Brian Reynolds is the finished product of Jason Dominguez.
Right.
So rather than waiting 5 years for Dominguez to become what Reynolds is, we have Reynolds now. So, and if the Yankees want to be a win now team, they could do that. And they've got plenty of other guys in the pipeline that they could, continue to develop. And so that's where I would move on from Jason Dominguez. Yeah, it'll probably hurt, but that's what you have to do to get somebody like a Brian Reynolds.
Right. So
I've even proposed Aaron Judge trades. People think I'm completely out of my mind, and the reason why I've done it is I understand it'll be like a wildly unpopular move short term. I get it, but now that he's turned down a big offer of $30+ million per year, and he's asked for 10 years and $360 million, which is a lot of money. They're so far apart with each other. To me, there's two options. You can either wait until the offseason and give him a massive overpay. And I'm not really worried about 2022, 23. I'm worried about 26 to 30, the years where he's going to be 36 to 40. They're going to be paying $35 million a year for him.
Yeah.
It could become a Cano type thing or a Jacoby Ellsbury type contract where it's just an albatross, right?
Right.
That's my biggest fear. And getting value back from him now is a good thing, because the other option is obviously just give him a massive overpay or lose him for nothing. Either one of those options, to me, they stink. So now that he's rejected the extension, I would personally go after and see what I can get in trade for him. His trade value is sky high right now with his production. And again, obviously I would get burned at the stake and crucified by Yankee fans, but I think it's something that needs to be considered. Okay.
Yeah.
The Red Sox moved on from Mookie. The Cardinals moved on from Pujols. Like, this has happened before.
Yeah.
And I get he's the franchise guy or whatnot. And again, it would be a very unpopular move, but if they can get a lot of value back, and I think they could and would, and not have much of an interruption in their performance, I mean, that to me is a good idea to, at the very least, consider. So do you think I'm nuts with that? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you're right on with the fact that he's going to cost a lot of money. And at the end of that contract, you would be paying for a guy that's not producing anywhere near what the money that he's making. So,
which to me makes White Sox brilliant for locking up Luis Robert, guys like that early on.
Right.
So that's how you do it. You lock him up. And he's also a victim of a late service time clock, unfortunately. Like, normally guys like Luis Robert and Juan Soto's, they hit free agency at 26-ish. Yeah. He's not hitting until 31. So I get that works against him. But at the same time, I think that stuff needs to be considered, because he did turn down a 7-year deal starting in 2023, not even including this year. So it would have taken him to 31 through 38 anyway, or 39.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's turned down the deals already, and really good offers, that's a red flag right there. So
yeah, it worries me. It worries me. So that's what I would do. But it's refreshing to hear your perspective on it too, and that you don't think I'm nuts. So, which pivots me or transitions me to the next thing. If in a leadership role, if you were the commissioner, right, in baseball, and you could make any one or two changes in baseball, what would they be?
Well, I'm kind of a traditionalist. So if I were the commissioner of baseball, one of the things I would do is I would reverse some of these newer rules that they've already come up with, that they've instituted, that I don't like. Like, I don't like a pitch clock. I don't like telling the manager that your relief pitcher has to face 3 batters.
Yeah,
and I don't like that. I really hate the man on second rule.
The ghost runner.
Yeah, that's completely stupid, because there's no way to account for how the guy got there. Like, baseball's always been about, if somebody's on second base, how did they get there? Well, now we just have to say, oh, we just dropped them there. That's what happened. So I hate that.
Yeah, and if you have one of your relievers that has to face at least 3 guys, that puts them in a huge disadvantage.
Right.
Huge disadvantage, right? So I agree with you. So that's the one thing I would reverse. I would reverse the ghost runner rule. Now, if they wanted to keep it, I would make it more gradual. So you want to make it more gradual. Okay, put a runner at first through the 10th and 11th and the 12th. 10th, 11th, and the 12th. And if you get past the 12th, then you move them to second or something like that. Personally, I'm with you. I would get rid of it altogether.
Yeah.
Because again, it puts the bullpens at a disadvantage. I personally think, and again, it makes it harder. And
when a reliever has to face 3 batters, when you're telling the manager he has to do that, then you're really telling the manager how to manage his team.
Yeah.
And that should be up to the manager. So
yeah, it changes the whole entire. It's almost as if you're planning to go into extra innings and you're not going to use guys that you wanted to use in the 6th or the 7th, but you might not. You might have to save them for the 10th and 11th and 12th. Like, it changes the complete trajectory of, I think, managing philosophy.
Yeah.
And to me, again, it puts managers at a disadvantage. It puts the bullpen at a disadvantage. So I would get rid of that too. And if I could make one other change, it would be a team opt-out. What I mean by that, how players sign long-term contracts and they can opt out to go get a bigger one?
Yeah.
Well, I would have a team opt-out. They sign a team, let's say, to an 8 or 10-year deal. The team can opt out if the player is not performing halfway through the contract, the player would obviously still get paid because the contracts are guaranteed, but that money would not be count towards the payroll of the team.
Yeah.
So the team would have, let's just say $20 million or whatever it is, $20 million freed up from their payroll.
Right.
To address other players should they want to do that. So to me, I think it's accountability both ways. It's like a player, and it's a player's right to obviously exercise out and exercise their options or free agency and whatnot. But a lot of the times it's at the detriment of the team, right? And then the team's just carrying this dead money for years and years and years. And they can't make any other moves because of the payroll implication, and they have to pay luxury tax and this and that penalties and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's fair. And again, it only happens to the spending teams, but I still think it'd be an option, a cool option to consider. Because again, if the player's not performing, why should the team suffer for those next 4 to 5 years?
Right.
You know what I mean? What do you think of that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me, because under your plan, the player still gets paid, but his money wouldn't count against the salary cap, or the luxury tax, or whatever it is. So yeah, that would be a great plan.
And with the players union being as strong as it is, I don't think there's a scenario in the universe where they would opt out and the player would not get paid. They would never go for that.
Right.
So,
No,
which is why I proposed them still being paid and not counted towards the payroll, because they would never go for that. So, and that I know, which is kind of why I kind of tinkered with that thing. And the last thing I wanted to chat with you was about crystal balling it. Any predictions, White Sox, Yankees, other teams for this season? Any ideas of who might win, awards, playoff surprises, favorites, and whatnot?
Well, I don't think too much about the individual awards, but as far as the White Sox go, I think the White Sox should still win the Central Division in the end if they can get healthy and stay healthy down the stretch. I still think the Central Division is kind of, a lot of wishy-washy teams in there. So they should still be able to win the Central, and certainly I think make the playoffs, but they got to get healthy and they got to stay healthy. But if they do that, I think they can. The Yankees are off to a surprisingly scalding start. So I think even if they hit a lull, they're definitely going to make the playoffs and may even win the East. I like the Mets. I like what the Mets are doing in the NL East. I think they should be able to hang on. Initially, at the start of the season, I thought Atlanta would win the division again, because I saw trading Freeman for Olsen as kind of like a zero-sum trade-off. But and then getting Elbies, was it Elbies or
they got Acuna back,
getting Acuna back. So I figured they would win they would win the East, but it doesn't look like. I mean, they're off again. They could be in the situation the White Sox are, just off to a bad start.
Yeah,
but I think if the Mets maintain what they're doing and DeGrom comes back, I think the Mets, you got to say that they've got the inside track on winning in the East.
Yeah.
And, the Angels are a surprising team in the AL West.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see them get off to the start that they've gotten off to. They're right there hanging with Houston. I think I had Houston winning the West. Right now they're still above them, but I mean, they're right there. The Angels are right there. And I wanted to ask you about this. I mean, Seattle's been disappointing, but I have been really disappointed with how Detroit has started. I figured with the moves Detroit made and how they did at the tail end of last year, that the Tigers would have been a team that would start to show that they're a team to be reckoned with, but they have just really underwhelmed so far.
Yeah, I agree with the Tigers. I mean, even guys like, what's the guy named Akil Badu, who was off to a hot start, they sent him down. Like, some of their young kids just haven't been performing, and the moves, because they did make a lot of moves. I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez from the Red Sox, they brought in Javi Baez, the shortstop, and added him to those guys that they already have. I still think that another starting pitcher would be good to add to guys like Rodriguez and Casey Mize and some of these other guys. And what's that other kid? Torkelson?
Yeah, Torkelson. He's gotten off to a slow start. So.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, there's some growing pains with guys like him and other guys. I still think there are a couple of pieces away. I think they would need to make a couple of deadline moves or have another relatively solid offseason to be more sustainable in terms of being competitive. Otherwise, I don't see the White Sox losing the division. I just don't. The White Sox are too good. And I see the Guardians kind of pulling up second. And they're always surprisingly good. They remind me of the Tampa Bay Rays. They're just not sexy or flashy, but they're always up there. Always up there. And it drives me nuts, but they're always up there.
I know.
And I don't know how they do it, but
the Rays keep making moves that you say to yourself, that was a terrible move. They should end up paying for that, but they never do.
Never.
They cut players. They cut good. I mean, they've cut good players. They've traded good players for like minor league pieces that you don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's remarkable how that player development, they're always making addition by subtraction. It's just, and again, I can't name more than a handful of players on the team.
Yeah.
Can't. I don't know who. So they do it every year without the superstar names and the superstar. Aside from Wander Franco, I mean, they moved Hunter Renfroe to the Brewers.
Yeah.
So, like in the Red Sox, the Red Sox, but they moved him and let him go to the Red Sox, and he left the Red Sox to the Brewers. But like, I mean, obviously, I think they're taking a more long-term approach. But you're right; they never leave. It's like a mosquito. It's just constantly buzzing. It's like the Guardians. Like, it drives me nuts.
Exactly.
But, and I'm sure it drives teams like the White Sox nuts because the White Sox are so much deeper and so much better on paper. But this is where the on paper thing kind of comes into play too. Like, so many people thought the Yankees had a terrible offseason, but on paper they were like a fourth place or a fifth place team. But on paper means nothing.
Right.
It doesn't. Getting the guys who are the right fits are important, not necessarily the best guys, right? That's true. The White Sox got a lot of guys who were a good fit, and so did the Yankees. So I see those guys. I could see if the Yankees stay healthy, I could see them winning the East. If they get another move or two at the deadline, I could see them playing the White Sox in the ALCS.
That would be great.
Those teams in the ALCS, I think both teams make another move or so at the deadline. Necessary move. Pivoting over to the West, the Angels too. And it's surprising the heck out of me, but again, they have that small group of elite players, right? Trout, Ohtani, Rendon, they're all healthy, thankfully. So, and I did hear today that they're looking to get another starting pitcher at the deadline. So, which would help them, I think. But I still think the Astros are a little bit ahead of them just because of experience and talent. But would I be surprised if the Angels made a move and overtook them? No. I think the A's are kind of surprisingly pretty good too, and made all the guys that they've traded away. I still think they're going to move Montez. They might move Sean Murphy, their catcher, in a trade. They might move like Tony Kemp and some other players still and kind of complete their rebuild. But in the West, it's the Angels and the Astros. To me, it's the White Sox at the top, and then the Guardians right behind in the Central, and then the Yankees, and most likely, obviously, the Rays or the Blue Jays. I think the Rays have the edge on the Blue Jays right now. But that's kind of the American League. Moving over to the National League, the Mets, I have them there. It's just they brought in way too much firepower, and like you said too, if DeGrom is healthy, they're going to be very formidable. The Braves, to me, are the National League version of the Rays. Not sexy moves, but they're always there.
Right.
So I think they're going to be right behind.
And really, last year the Braves were like, at the start of the season through the middle of the season, the Braves were like, you didn't think they were going to be anywhere near the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then they just kicked it into a different mode in the second half, and especially down the stretch in August and September. And there they were.
Yeah, and they brought in the right guys at the deadline, guys like Soler and Rosario, like perfect role players for what they were trying to do, right? And it just worked out perfectly. It worked out perfectly for them. So kudos to them. The Central, I think the Brewers and the Cardinals. I could see the Brewers winning the division, the Cardinals behind them. And I still think the Brewers are probably going to make. I actually heard there today they're interested in trading for Andrew Benintendi from the Royals, which would add another kind of dynamic player to that team. So I would look out for that one. That might happen in the near future. Yeah. And then moving over to the West, to me, it's the Dodgers and the Padres. I see the Padres becoming more aggressive too. And the Dodgers, now that they've got Trevor Bauer's money freed up, that's $35 million they have to play with this year and next.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the Giants, last year, I think the Giants just overperformed. They had so many players have career years, like, Brandon Crawford. I mean, I think he had his best career year last year.
Mm-hmm.
So they had that, like, from a lot of players, and you can't expect that they're going to repeat that again. Plus, they traded Gausman, or let Gausman go to the Blue Jays.
To the Blue Jays. And then they brought in Carlos Rodon, but they're still on they're also without Chris Bryant now as well. So they got a little bit more offense too. I see them coming in third. Now, there's a chance they could win the wild card or get that other wild card spot with the extended playoffs now. But I don't know. I mean, to me, it's the Dodgers and the Padres that are going to be at the top of that race in the National League West. And then some other guys kind of coming up the back end. In terms of playoffs, I mean, the Dodgers will always be up there. I think the Dodgers will make some kind of move at the deadline. I think the Padres will as well. To me, the Padres and the Dodgers represent the two best fits in my mind for Aaron Judge trades. So the Mariners on the back end as well. The Giants too. I mean, they've got the resources and the willingness to spend, but the Giants kind of behind the Mariners and the Dodgers and Padres. So if he's going to get moved, he is a West Coast kid, and I don't know that he will. He'll more than likely get moved to one of those teams. And they've got what it takes to get him. And to give him the money that, again, with the exception of like Trevor Bauer, the Dodgers, I mean, they don't have Max Scherzer anymore. So I see them spending that money to extend Trey Turner because he's still young at shortstop and bringing it. Could you imagine the Dodgers bringing in Judge? Free agency, it would be
nobody wants to see that.
No, that would be headaches all day for me.
Unless you're a Dodgers fan, that's it.
Yeah, Dodgers with Judge, Mookie, Turner. It's just that's murder, modern day murder show. That's these guys like Kerrigan and Ruth over there. So I don't want to see it, but I do have my gut's telling me, because he's already said that he's not going to discuss an extension in this season, that somebody's going to come in with a huge offer, and he'll go somewhere, and the Yankees will be left with nothing.
Yeah. So
that's my fear. I hope it doesn't happen, but that's kind of my outlook into for predictions. Individual awards too. Yeah, to me it's too early.
Yeah, it is.
Those to me represent like the two top teams in each division in each league. And I think we're kind of pretty much on par with each other as to who's going to be the most competitive, and when the teams that make the moves. But I would love to see an ALCS with the Yankees and White Sox.
Yeah, that would be good. I'd love to see that
when they're clicking on all cylinders, when they're at full strength.
Yeah.
So you got Giolito and you've got the other guys that you need. And who is there any other stars? Kopech out too, right?
No. Yeah. I think, is it Kopech?
Yeah.
And also Lance Lynn is out for a while.
Oh, so Lance Lynn, Kopech, and Gio. That's a big blow to the rotation. I know they've got Keiko pitching today. I don't know who they have pitching tomorrow. That's Keiko against Montgomery tonight.
Yeah.
And but I'm not exactly sure. But you get those guys back and you make another move. I mean, again, it's going to be a really hard team to beat. Hard team to beat. So that's that's why I like doing the video with you, because I think we're on essentially, the way I'm seeing is almost on a collision course with each other in the playoffs. And that to me would make the most exciting playoff race in the American League.
Yeah, it would be. That would be great to see.
And you can have like an NLCS with the Dodgers and the Mets or something like that. I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of that's what I'm envisioning. Right. That's what I'm envisioning. So, I mean, what's next for your channel? You're going to continue talking baseball and football. For those of you who don't know, obviously he talks Bears, talks USFL as well. So if you're a baseball fan and a football fan, make sure you check his channel out and support it by subscribing.
Yeah, I do USFL picks every week. I do my picks every week. When the NFL season rolls around, I'll do the NFL picks every week. And I do a lot of sports gaming, tabletop and computer, Stratomatic, out of the park baseball.
Oh, nice.
We got,
That's very nice. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
That's what. So before we go, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Bears draft? You just had the NFL draft. You happy?
It's really, I don't know too much about college players, but I think they made the right moves by acquiring more picks. I think that's what they had to do. They had to get more picks so they could bring in more young players that they could develop and use. So I thought they went about it as good as they could go about it. So hopefully those moves are going to pay off for them. And I still don't think they can compete with the Packers. So that's still a while away.
It's going to be tough. Yeah, they did lose their wide receiver, but they're still going to be tough. I mean,
yeah.
I was surprised at the Khalil Mack trade.
Yeah. But the new coach, they brought in that new coach, and he's a defensive guy, so he must think that he's got a scheme and a plan that will work even without Khalil Mack. So
yeah. Makes sense. Well, hopefully the Bears have a good season. I felt good about the Jets draft, but again, they've got to stay healthy. They always get injured, always. So
right.
We'll see what happens there. But Bob, I want to thank you for coming on to the channel, having some good baseball chat. When we get closer to the playoffs, let's do it again. So we can get both outlooks, especially if your White Sox and my Yankees are still at the top competing for the divisions.
Oh,
it's a lot of fun. So we definitely want to have a playoff talk for you.
Yeah.
So, but make sure you guys and gals go take a look at Bob's channel, Sportsman's Eat. I'm telling you, you're going to really, really enjoy it. Please support it by subscribing. And Bob, thanks for coming on, my man. And I'll talk to you.
I love being here.
Thanks, man. Peace, buddy.